Hey Clashers, how difficult is Town 17 right now? Because the Clan War League is over. For us, it was pretty successful. Only 4 stars were missed overall. And the question though is, how difficult is it for the rest of the players? And based on those numbers, what would be balance changes which I would suggest if I could change anything in the game? Equipments, troops, everything. But let's start things off with the numbers and with the stats of the last Clan War League season. And for that, as always, we are visiting the Clash Spot website because they always have the numbers for such comparisons. As well, which you can see on your screen right now, most of the Town 17 players are in Master or even in High Crystal Leagues, which means Champion 1 or 2 or even 3, if you take a look at the hit rates of those, you always have to have that in the back of your mind. But now let's take a look at the last 3 Clan War League seasons, which was on the left side, the last Town 16 Clan War League season. Then in the middle, we have the Town 17, the first Clan War League season ever for that Town level. And then the last Clan War League, which we just had at the beginning of this new year for Town 17. And let's compare all of them. On Town 16, we had overall a 72% success rate in Champion 1. Which means out of 100 attacks, 72 were 3 stars. This hit rate went down quite a bit with the first update of Town 17. My assumption, the main reason for this is because, well, Town 17 is not as easy as people think, and not everyone has really understood back then how to attack Town 17 bases, because that is quite different compared to Town 16. But as well, this hit rate went back up again, for 2 reasons in my opinion. The first one being Electro boots being too strong, and the second reason being that, well, people have just learned to how to attack better Town 17 bases. For those 2 reasons, we have seen an increase in hit rate again. But if we take a look at the masses, which means like around Master 1 to overall Crystal 1, we see pretty much not many changes. Overall, Town 16 seems to be around the same level as Town 17. On the same side though, we have to note that obviously not everyone is well upgraded around that overall ranges, but still, keep that in mind. Right now, it currently feels for the majority of players that the Town Hall is around the same difficulty, at least if you're attacking non-max Town 17 bases. With that in mind, I think we should now jump into my wish list for the balance changes in general. I will talk about equipment, troops, and pretty much everything possible. But let's just start things off with the equipment, because I have already mentioned the Electro boots, in my opinion, are quite a bit of a problem. It's not really healthy when you can take down like 70% of a base with just one hero charging through the entire thing with just the spells. That's not really as how the game should work, I assume. This can obviously still be strong, don't get me wrong, but I think it should be nerfed. My concrete numbers would be DPS of the aura going down from 250 to 175. I think that would be like a nice sweet spot where the equipment would be still one of the strongest, but it's not as dominating right now, where pretty much if you don't use it, you're getting punished in some or the other way. So that would be my suggestion for the Electro boot equipment, which would keep it viable, but nerf it a little bit. The only other equipment, or to be more specific, equipment combination, which in my opinion is a little bit too strong, is, well, Spiky Ball and Earthquake boots. The main reason why I think that's too strong is because with this combination of the damage of the Earthquake boots with the Spiky Ball, you can one-shot any building in the game as long as it's not the Town Hall. And that seems a little bit too strong if you ask me. But because Spiky Ball is an epic equipment, I would try to not touch it whatsoever, because ores are really a nightmare to get, especially the stereo ores. So those who have upgraded the Spiky Ball should not get punished with the equipment being nerfed. So I would suggest no changes to the Spiky Ball, but instead nerf the common equipment, which is the Earthquake boots. I don't understand why this thing is even dealing 60% of the hit points of any building around it. The equipment goal is to open the compartment. Why is the damage there? Not remove the damage entirely, because that would be just unfair obviously, is to reduce it from 60 to 40%. What would this do? Well, you could still one-shot a lot of the key defenses like Expo or for example the Inferno Towers with the combination of the Earthquake boots and the Spiky Ball. But scatter shot, merge defenses like the cannon or the archer tower, they would survive, and this means that you could not take down every building anymore with that combination. That would keep that strategy or like that composition of those two equipments viable, but still leaves counterplay then on the other side because you cannot one-shot everything anymore. At the same time, it would make other king equipments viable again, because I think the Gauntlet is not a bad equipment whatsoever. And the only problem is that it's getting overshadowed by the strength of the Spiky Ball and Earthquake combination. And that's the only problem here. Gauntlet is still an incredibly strong equipment. But no, I would not change it. Instead, I would buff another equipment for the Barbarian King, which is the Vamstash. I feel like on the higher tower levels, it really struggles. And this is why I personally would change the attack speed. Because with a higher attack speed, this is one of the base stats which this equipment increases, you would have more attacks, you would get more hit points back, it would be overall stronger and more viable to use. It is a fun equipment to use, unfortunately though, right now, not one of the strongest. And with that change, I would hope that this equipment would get some love from more players and it would be overall a better option for someone to pick up if they want to. Otherwise, I think those classic equipments like the Barbarian or Archer Puppet, you could sit above them, you could attempt it, but I don't think it would be useful to really spend the effort in that, but obviously that could be buffed, but I think they will be always staying on the weak side and it's just starter equipments, and that's pretty much it. Let's move on though to the Archer Queen, since Baron King, as I said, the only nerfs I would do is Earthquake Boots, and the buff I would do is for the Vamstash. But for the Archer Queen, I think overall it's pretty solid right now. You have the Giant Arrow, which is getting used a lot, especially to trigger Invest Towers. The Healer Puppet seems to be one of the strongest equipments, which is a common equipment, which is nice for players because this means you don't have to spend stereo ores. And for every ground attacker, you can as well use the Magic Mirror if you want to boost your power even higher, but then you're liking the power of being able to activate Invest Towers. So there's always some pros and cons, but overall I think the Archer Queen has some solid options, and overall I would not change anything for her. Moving forward with the Minion Prince, well, he has only two equipments. I would not change anything about it because we don't know anything about the future possible equipments which are going to be added, and synergies, we cannot really change anything there in my opinion, and I think it should not be changed anything currently. Next one is the Warden. The Warden, I think, has mostly one common equipment which is getting underused a lot, and that's the Life Gem. The Life Gem, well, it's kind of like getting overshadowed by the Rage Gem and by the Healing Tome. Even though the Healing Tome was nerfed, the Life Gem is still not getting used by many strategies, if even any strategies, and that's kind of sad. So I think I would just boost either the more hit point, the ability, or what you could do as well is boost the base stats. I am biased here because I would like to see the base stats boosted, because this means my double gem thrower strategy would be even stronger, but hey, in the end I just think there needs to be a buff, either one or the other way. The epic equipment for the Warden, which is the Lava Loon Puppet, I think needs some love as well. I think it is a weird situation where the equipment right now is for sure not as strong as other epic equipments or even as the common options for the Warden, but if you buff it and in the future we might get a new clone spell level, that thing might be completely busted and broken. So it's hard to do any balance changes here. Buff it and in the future it's broken. Don't change it and it's useless right now. Like, it's really tricky. What would I do? I would personally just maybe not touch it and see what happens in the future. But again, it's depending on what Supercell plans. If they're planning to bring a clone spell anytime soon, don't buff it. If they're planning to do so, buff it. I mean, that's kind of how I see it. Next one is the Royal Champion. I already said that I would personally nerf the Electro boots, and I think the only other equipment which is kind of getting overshadowed by everything else is, that's right, the Royal Gem. I would turn this into complete tank equipment, increase the bonus hit points which you gain just from having it activated massively, and then you could increase as well the hit points which you can regenerate when using the active ability, which you can get back right away. I would buff those two options, because buffing the DPS of that equipment would be counterproductive to the nerf which just tapped into the Electro boots. Because why would you remove the damage from Electro boots but add it back in another equipment, right? That would make no sense. So those would be the overall suggestions, the overall list I would change when it comes down to equipments. But I would love to hear your opinions, because obviously I can totally understand the point that some of you are saying, iTzu, I know equipments are not perfectly balanced, but I prefer to keep it as it is to make sure that not anyone has wasted their ores. I can see that argument for sure. On the other side though, I have to say as well that those ores are not wasted, because a lot of those equipments are still completely viable, and I think so far we have not seen any equipment which was killed from a balance change. The only thing which might stand out is the frozen arrow. It was nerfed, but as well not really used after. But that was mostly because the frozen arrow is a specific equipment for queen charges. And queen charges just got harder and harder with Town Hall 16, and by Town Hall 17 they are kind of completely gone. Frozen arrows are still incredibly strong if you like a Town Hall 14 or below, and yeah, it's tricky. But let's move on to the troops. And for the troops, I have to say the only standout troop right now for me, in my opinion, is the Root Rider. But at the same time, Supercell has already leaked that we're going to get new defense levels, right? And nerfing a troop right now can be kind of counterproductive. So what I would suggest instead is keep the Root Rider, except that it's right now a little bit too strong, but just don't give it a new level on Town Hall 17. Keep the Root Rider level for the Town level, don't increase it, but having defenses added makes the troop kind of worse anyways. As well, I don't hope that we're going to see another Healer level or Titan level. All of those three troops are strong enough, and healers with any tanky troop right now is just like the go-to strategy, and you have many options to do so. Throwers, Super Witches, Titans, Root Riders. Titans and Root Riders are right now the strongest options, while all of the other options are completely fine still as well. They just feel a tiny little bit of weaker overall. But that's it. Otherwise, I would not personally touch any troop, I think, because as I said, Town Hall 17 just launched, so a lot of defenses have no defense level just yet. That's different though for the equipment, right? So let me know what you think overall. Am I going completely crazy here? Would you agree or disagree overall with my recommendations or with my list? I would love to hear that in the comment section, and please don't go too crazy. We can argue, but don't get personal there. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys back tomorrow with the next class video. Until then, see ya and bye bye.